The music was loud, and Zara's feet moved effortlessly across the living room floor. At 14, she was grace itself, spinning, laughing, her body a perfect instrument of joy. Chief Obi sat on the sofa watching his daughter dance, his heart full of pride. "Papa, watch this move." Zara called out, executing a perfect pirouette. "Beautiful, my daughter. You'll be a professional dancer one day." Life was good. Zara Obi had everything a teenage girl could want. A loving father, a beautiful home in Lekki, excellent grades at school, and dreams as big as the Lagos sky. Her mother had died when she was 6, but Chief Obi had filled that void with twice the love. He was her hero, her protector, her everything. Then he married Augusta. Augusta Nwosu was stunning, tall, elegant, with smooth skin and a smile that could charm anyone. She had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, Priska, 16, and Nneka, 14. When Chief Obi introduced him to Zara, Augusta hugged her warmly. "I've always wanted 3 daughters," Augusta said sweetly. "We're going to be such a happy family." For the first 3 months, Augusta played her role perfectly. She cooked Zara's favorite meals, braided her hair, took her shopping. Chief Obi was delighted. "You see? I told you she would be a wonderful mother to you." But the moment Chief Obi left on his first business trip to Abuja, Augusta's mask slipped. "Zara," she barked from the kitchen, "why haven't you washed the dishes?" "I was doing my homework." "I don't care about your homework. In this house, you do chores first. Priska and Nneka don't do housework. That's your job now." Zara was confused. "But Papa said we should all share." "Your father isn't here." "I am, and you will do what I say." From that day forward, Zara's life became a nightmare. When Chief Obi was home, Augusta was sweet and loving. But the moment he left, she became a tyrant. Zara cooked, cleaned, washed, and swept while Priska and Nneka lounged around watching TV. "Faster, you lazy girl!" Augusta would shout, hitting Zara with a wooden spoon if she moved too slowly. Zara tried to tell her father, but Augusta was clever. "Chief, you know how teenage girls are. Zara is just upset that she has to share your attention now. She's been lying about me to drive us apart." Chief Obi, desperate for family peace, believed his new wife. "Zara, you must learn to accept Augusta. She's your mother now." "But Papa..." "No buts. I don't want to hear any more complaints." Zara felt trapped, betrayed, alone. 6 months after the wedding, things came to a head. It was a Saturday evening, and Chief Obi had gone to Port Harcourt for a business meeting. Augusta had forced Zara to mop the entire house, all 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, the living room, dining room, and kitchen. Zara's arms ached. Her back hurt. It was 9 p.m., and she hadn't eaten since morning. "I'm finished, Ma," Zara said quietly. Leaning on the mop, Augusta inspected the floor with cold eyes. Then she deliberately kicked over a bucket of dirty water, spilling it across the freshly mopped tiles. "You call this clean? Do it again." "But Ma, I've been working since morning. Are you talking back to me?" Augusta's voice turned dangerous. "No, Ma. I'm very tired and hungry." "You're tired?" "Tired." Augusta's face twisted with rage. "You ungrateful child. I feed you, clothe you, and you dare complain?" "I'm sorry, Ma. I didn't mean..." "Get out of my sight before I beat you senseless." Zara grabbed the mop and bucket and hurried toward the stairs, tears streaming down her face. She just wanted to get to her room, lock the door, and cry herself to sleep. But as she reached the top of the marble staircase, Augusta appeared behind her. "You think you're special because you're his real daughter?" Augusta hissed. "You think you're better than my girls?" "No, Ma. I never said." "You're nothing." Augusta screamed. In a moment of pure rage, she shoved Zara hard in the chest. Zara's eyes widened in shock. She dropped the mop. Her arms flailed, grasping at empty air. Then she fell. Down, down, down. 15 marble steps. Her body tumbled like a rag doll, hitting each step with a sickening thud. Her left leg twisted beneath her at an unnatural angle. The sound of bone cracking echoed through the house. She landed at the bottom in a heap, unconscious, her leg bent grotesquely. Augusta stood at the top of the stairs, breathing hard, her eyes wide with horror at what she'd just done. Priska and Neka came running. "Mama, what happened?" Augusta's mind raced. Then her survival instincts kicked in. She fell. She was running down the stairs, and she slipped. "Call an ambulance. Now!" At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to save Zara's leg. Chief Obi rushed back from Port Harcourt, his face gray with worry. "How did this happen?" he demanded. She was running down the stairs. Augusta said, tears streaming down her face. Perfect tears, perfectly timed. "I told her so many times not to run, but you know how children are." She slipped. I tried to grab her, but I was too late. The doctor came out, his face grim. "Chief Obi, your daughter's leg is severely damaged. We've done what we can, but she'll never walk normally again. She'll need crutches for the rest of her life." Chief Obi collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. "My baby, my little dancer." When Zara woke up 2 days later, her father was beside her bed, holding her hand. "Papa?" She whispered. "My daughter, thank God you're awake." Zara's eyes filled with tears as the memory came flooding back. Augusta's rage to push the fall. "Papa," she pushed me. But before she could finish, Augusta appeared at the door with a tray of food. "Zara, thank God. I've been so worried." She set the tray down and leaned close, whispering in Zara's ear so only she could hear. "If you tell your father what really happened, I will make sure something worse happens to you. Much worse. Do you understand?" Zara's blood ran cold. She looked at her father's exhausted, grief-stricken face and realized he would never believe her over his new wife. "What were you saying, my daughter?" Chief Obi asked gently. Zara's voice trembled. "Nothing, Papa. I don't remember what happened." "The trauma," the doctor said. "Memory loss is common after a fall like that." Chief Obi blamed himself. "I should have put carpet on those stairs. This is my fault." But it wasn't his fault. It was Augusta's, and she had gotten away with it. From that day forward, Zara's life was never the same. She was no longer the dancing girl with big dreams. She was a crippled stepdaughter, dependent on crutches, unable to run, unable to dance, unable to escape. And Augusta made sure she never forgot it. "Look at you." Augusta would sneer when Chief Obi wasn't around. "Useless legs. Useless girl. Your father regrets marrying me because of you." But worse was yet to come. She was pushed down the stairs by her own stepmother. A girl who used to dance is now disabled for life. And the stepmother got away with it by threatening her into silence. If you're already angry, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Drop a comment. Have you ever been blamed for something someone else did to you? Next chapter is where the father dies and the stepmother shows her true evil. You need to see what happens next. Hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching African Tales by Zion, where every story shakes your soul. 3 years passed like a slow torture. Zara was now 17, and though her body had healed as much as it ever would, her spirit remained broken. She moved to the house like a ghost, doing chores, attending school, and trying to stay invisible. Her crutches had become extensions of her body, constant reminders of what Augusta had stolen from her. Every step hurt. Every staircase was a nightmare. But what hurt most was the look in her father's eyes, the guilt, the pity, the sadness whenever he watched her struggle. "I'm sorry I can't fix this, my daughter," he would say, holding her hand. "It's not your fault, Papa," Zara would reply, swallowing the truth that burned in her throat. Chief Obi had aged rapidly over those 3 years. The guilt of failing to protect his daughter ate at him. He threw himself into his work, traveling more, staying away longer, perhaps unable to face the daily reminder of what he thought was his failure. Augusta, meanwhile, had fully transformed into the lady of the house. She wore expensive jewelry, drove Chief Obi's cars, hosted lavish parties, and treated Zara like an unpaid servant. "The cripple will serve drinks," she would announce when guests arrived, deliberately humiliating Zara in front of visitors. Priska and Neka had grown into younger versions of their mother, vain, cruel, and entitled. They called Zara the broken one and made her life miserable. Walk faster, cripple. Priska would laugh, kicking one of Zara's crutches away and watching her stumble. Zara endured it all in silence, counting down the days until she turned 18 and could leave. Just one more year, she told herself. One more year, and I'll be free. But fate had other plans. It was a Thursday afternoon when Chief Obi's driver called the house, his voice shaking with grief. "Madam, there's been an accident." "Chief." "Chief is gone." Augusta's scream brought the entire household running. Within hours, family members filled the house, wailing and crying. Chief Obi's car had been hit by a trailer on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He died instantly. Zara sat in her room, clutching her father's photo, her world collapsing around her. The only person who had ever loved her was gone. She was truly alone now, trapped in a house with a woman who hated her. At the funeral, Zara could barely stand. Her grief was so heavy it felt physical, crushing her chest, making it hard to breathe. She leaned on her crutches, watching them lower her father into the ground, and wished she could climb into that grave with him. Augusta, dressed in the finest black lace money could buy, played the grieving widow perfectly, sobbing into expensive handkerchiefs while relatives comforted her. "He was everything to me," she wailed dramatically. But Zara saw the truth in Augusta's eyes. There was no grief there, only calculation. 2 weeks after the funeral, the family gathered for the reading of Chief Obi's will. The lawyer, Mr. Chukwuma, was a stern elderly man who had known Chief Obi for 20 years. He opened the document and began to read. "I, Chief Obinna Obi, being of sound mind, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." The room fell silent. "To my beloved daughter, Zara Obi, I leave 60% of my entire estate, including my properties, businesses, and bank accounts. She is the light of my life, and I trust she will use this inheritance wisely and with kindness." Zara's eyes widened. 60%? Augusta's face turned to stone. "To my wife, Augusta Obi, and her daughters Priska and Neka, I leave the remaining 40% of my estate, to be divided equally among the 3 of them." "What?" Augusta stood up, her voice shaking with rage. "This is ridiculous. I'm his widow. How can he leave more to her than to me?" Mr. Chukwuma looked at her calmly. "These were Chief Obi's wishes, madam. The will is legally binding and has been witnessed and notarized. But she's just a child, a crippled child who can't even. She is his daughter and the primary beneficiary." The lawyer interrupted firmly. "The documents will be processed, and Ms. Zara will have full access to her inheritance when she turns 18 in 6 months, or earlier with guardian approval." Augusta's hands trembled with fury. She looked at Zara with such hatred that Zara actually flinched. The meeting ended and relatives dispersed, some congratulating Zara, others giving Augusta pitying looks. But Zara felt no joy. Money meant nothing to her. She just wanted her father back. That night, Zara lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what would happen now. She didn't have to wait long to find out. At 2 a.m., her door burst open. The lights flicked on. Augusta stood there in her nightgown, eyes blazing, with Priska and Neka behind her. "Get up," Augusta commanded coldly. "What? Why?" "I said get up." Zara scrambled for her crutches and pulled herself to her feet, her heart pounding. Augusta held out a stack of papers. "Sign these." "What are they?" "Legal documents transferring your inheritance to me." Zara's eyes widened. "What? No. My father left that to me." "Your father was a fool." Augusta screamed. "You think a crippled girl like you deserves all that money? You think you can manage properties and businesses with your useless legs? It's what my father wanted. Your father is dead." Augusta's voice echoed through the room. "And you are nothing, a disabled girl with no one to protect you. The lawyer said it's legally mine." "I don't care what the lawyer said." Augusta threw the papers at Zara's face. "Sign them, or I will make your life even more miserable than it already is." "No," Zara said, her voice shaking but firm. "I won't betray my father's wishes." Augusta's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Fine. Then you have 2 options. Sign the papers and stay in this house as my servant, or refuse and get out. Right now. What? It's the middle of the night. Where would I go? I don't care if you sleep in the gutter. This is MY House now. Your father left me 40%, but I will have 100%. So choose, sign or leave. Zara's mind raced. If she signed, she'd lose everything her father had worked for, everything he'd wanted her to have. But if she refused, I won't sign, Zara whispered. Augusta's face twisted with rage. Then get out. Priska, Neka, throw her out. But, Mama, it's 2 a.m. Neka hesitated. I said throw her out. The two girls grabbed Zara's arms. Zara struggled, but she was no match for them. They dragged her through the house, her crutches clattering behind her. Please, wait. Let me at least pack some clothes. Zara begged. You don't deserve anything from this house. Augusta spat. They hauled her to the front gate and literally threw her out onto the street. Her crutches came flying after her, one hitting her in the shoulder. If you come back, I'll call the police and tell them you're trespassing. Augusta shouted. Then she slammed the gate shut. The lock clicked. Zara sat on the cold pavement in her thin nightgown, shaking, crying, unable to believe this was happening. She looked up at the house, her father's house, her home, now locked against her. Through the upstairs window, she could see Augusta watching her with cold satisfaction. Then the lights went out. Zara pulled herself up with her crutches and looked around. The street was empty, dark, silent. She had no phone, no money, nowhere to go. She was 17 years old, disabled, and now homeless. She began to walk, each step painful, not knowing where she was going, only knowing she couldn't stay there. Behind her, the house that had once been full of her father's love now stood cold and locked, inhabited by monsters. And Zara walked into the night alone. Thrown out at 2 a.m., a disabled 17-year-old girl with no money and no phone, left on the streets by her wicked stepmother, all because she refused to sign away her father's legacy. Are you furious right now? Smash that like button and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion. Comment below, what would you do if your stepmother did this to you? Next chapter shows Zara's struggle on the streets and how a billionaire discovers her. You won't believe what happens. Turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to see that evil doesn't always win. The streets of Lagos at night were a different world, dangerous, dark, and unforgiving. Zara wandered for hours, her crutches clicking against the pavement, her thin nightgown offering no protection against the cool night air. She had no idea where she was going. She just walked. By dawn, she found herself at Ashidi, one of the most chaotic areas in Lagos. The morning rush had already begun. Buses honking, hawkers shouting, people pushing past each other in a frantic scramble to get to work. Zara sat under a bridge, exhausted, hungry, and terrified. Reality was settling in. She was homeless. She had no money, no food, no plan. For 3 weeks, Zara survived on the streets. She begged at bus stops, slept under bridges, and scavenged for food in garbage bins. Her crutches broke from overuse, and she had to drag herself across the ground, her hands bleeding, her nightgown torn and filthy. People stared at her, some with pity, most with disgust. A few kind souls gave her coins or bread, but most looked away, uncomfortable with her disability, her poverty, her very existence. Please, just small money for food, Zara would beg, holding out her trembling hand. Some people spat at her. Others cursed her. You're young and strong. Go and work instead of begging. But I can't walk properly. That's your excuse? Lazy girl. Zara learned quickly that poverty made you invisible. People didn't see her as a human being anymore. She was just that crippled beggar girl. She tried to go to her father's lawyer, but security wouldn't let her into the building. Madam, you cannot enter looking like this. You're disturbing our clients. She tried to go to the police, but they laughed at her. You say your stepmother threw you out? Do you have proof? Witnesses? Money for a lawyer? No? Then we can't help you. She was trapped in a system designed to protect the powerful, not the powerless. One evening, as she sat outside a small shop begging for food, a little girl walked up to her. The girl couldn't have been more than 7, wearing a pretty pink dress and carrying a small bag. "My brother said I should give you this," the girl said shyly, handing Zara a wrapped sandwich and a bottle of water. Zara's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. Thank you so much. What's your brother's name?" "His name is Mr. Malik. He's very rich. He's in that car." The girl pointed to a black Range Rover parked nearby. Before Zara could say anything else, the girl ran back to the car. The window was tinted, but Zara caught a glimpse of a man inside, tall, well-dressed, watching her. Then the car drove away. Zara clutched the sandwich like it was gold and ate slowly, savoring every bite. She didn't know who Mr. Malik was, but she whispered a prayer of thanks for him. She didn't know that man was about to change her life completely. Inside the Range Rover, Malik Adeyemi sat in silence, his jaw tight, his eyes haunted. His little niece, Amara, looked up at him. "Uncle Malik, why did you want to give her food?" Malik's voice was soft. "Because she reminds me of someone." "Who?" "Your Aunt Sophia, my little sister." Amara had heard stories about Aunt Sophia, who had died before she was born. The one who had polio? Malik nodded, his throat tight. "Yes. When I was young, we were very poor. Sophia got polio when she was 8. Her legs stopped working. My parents couldn't afford proper treatment. We watched her suffer for 4 years. Then she died. I'm sorry, Uncle. I promised myself that if I ever became successful, I would help people like her, people the world forgets." He looked out the window at where Zara had been sitting. "That girl, she's young, disabled, and living on the streets. No one should suffer like that. Are you going to help her?" Malik pulled out his phone and called his head of security. "Samuel, I need you to find out everything about the disabled girl who was sitting outside Shop 47 in Oshodi. I want to know her name, her story, everything. And I want it by tomorrow." "Yes, sir." Within 24 hours, Malik's team had uncovered Zara's entire story. They found neighbors from Chief Obi's estate who witnessed Augusta's cruelty. They tracked down the hospital records from the night of Zara's accident. And most importantly, they found Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Ibrahim had been Chief Obi's security guard for 10 years, until Augusta fired him 3 months after Chief Obi died. He was bitter, broke, and willing to talk. "I saw what happened that night," Ibrahim told Malik's investigator. "I was doing my evening rounds when I heard shouting upstairs. I looked up and saw Madame Augusta push Miss Zara down the stairs. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Why didn't you report it?" Ibrahim looked down shamefully. "Madame Augusta called me to her room the next day. She gave me N500,000 and told me if I ever spoke about what I saw, she would make sure I never worked again. I have 6 children, sir. I needed that money, but I've been feeling guilty every day since. Would you be willing to testify to what you saw?" Ibrahim nodded. "Yes, I'm ready to tell the truth." When Malik heard the full story, his hands clenched into fists. This woman hadn't just stolen from Zara. She had crippled her, traumatized her, and thrown her away like garbage. "Find the girl," Malik ordered. "Bring her to my hospital. I don't care what it costs. We're going to help her." His team found Zara under the same bridge where she'd been sleeping, burning with fever, weak from malnutrition, her body covered in sores and bruises. They wrapped her in blankets, placed her gently in the car, and took her to Malik's private hospital. For 3 days, Zara drifted in and out of consciousness. Doctors treated her infections, fed her through and for, cleaned and bandaged her wounds. When she finally woke up, she was in a clean white bed, wearing a hospital gown with soft sheets and the smell of antiseptic in the air. She thought she was dreaming. Then she saw him, a tall, handsome man in an expensive suit, sitting in a chair beside her bed, watching her with gentle eyes. Who are you?" Zara whispered, her voice hoarse. "My name is Malik Adeyemi," he said quietly, "and I'm here to help you get back everything that was stolen from you." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "Why? Why would you help me?" Malik's expression softened. "Because I had a sister like you once, and I couldn't save her. But I can save you." For the first time in months, Zara felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope. A billionaire saw her on the streets and investigated her entire story. He found a security guard who saw the stepmother push her down the stairs. The truth is about to come out. If you're celebrating right now, smash that like button and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion. Comment what should happen to the stepmother now. Next chapter is where the stepmother gets exposed on national TV and her own daughters turn against her. You absolutely cannot miss this. Hit that notification bell. Malik didn't just rescue Zara from the streets. He gave her back her life. Over the next 3 months, she stayed in his luxurious guest house, receiving the best medical care money could buy. Specialist doctors examined her leg, and while they couldn't fully repair the damage Augusta had caused, they managed to improve her mobility significantly. You'll always need support when you walk, the orthopedic surgeon explained. But with the right treatment and a specialized cane, you'll be much more independent. Zara cried with relief. She had spent 3 years believing she'd be trapped with crutches forever. But Malik wasn't just healing her body. He was preparing for war. "We're not taking Augusta to court," Malik told Zara one afternoon as they sat in his office. Court cases in Nigeria can drag on for years, and justice isn't guaranteed when you're fighting rich people who can bribe judges. "Then what do we do?" Zara asked. Malik smiled, a cold, calculated smile. "We destroy her reputation. We expose her to the entire country, and we let the people deliver justice." He had assembled a team of investigators, media specialists, and lawyers. They gathered every piece of evidence: hospital records, testimonies, photographs, financial documents showing Augusta's theft. But the most damaging evidence was Mr. Ibrahim, the security guard who had witnessed the push. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Malik asked Ibrahim during their final preparation meeting. "Augusta will come after you." "I'm ready," Ibrahim said firmly. "That girl suffered because I kept quiet. I won't be a coward anymore." Malik used his connections to arrange a primetime interview on TVC, one of Nigeria's biggest television stations. The promo ran for 3 days. Billionaire Malik Adeyemi exposed his shocking story of abuse, theft, and attempted murder. You won't believe who's involved. The entire country was buzzing with curiosity. On the night of the interview, Zara sat beside Malik in the television studio, her heart pounding. She wore a beautiful blue dress that Malik had bought her. Her hair was freshly done. She looked healthy, confident, beautiful, nothing like the broken girl from the streets. The host, a well-known journalist named Yemi, opened the show. "Good evening, Nigeria. Tonight we have a story that will shock you. With me is billionaire businessman Malik Adeyemi and a young woman named Zara Obi. Zara, 3 months ago, you were homeless, living under a bridge in Ashidi. Today you're here. What happened?" Zara took a deep breath and began to speak. She told everything: the happy childhood with her father, Augusta's arrival, the night Augusta pushed her down the stairs, the threat that kept her silent, her father's death, the stolen inheritance, being thrown out at 2 a.m., living on the streets. She spoke calmly, clearly, with quiet strength. The television audience was stunned. "That's a serious accusation," Yemi said carefully. "Do you have proof that Augusta pushed you?" "Yes," Malik interjected. He nodded to his assistant, who played a video on the screen. It was Mr. Ibrahim, the security guard, giving his testimony on camera. "I was working the night shift on March 15th, 2021, Ibrahim said in the video. "I heard shouting from upstairs. When I looked up, I saw Madame Augusta Obi push Miss Zara Obi down the staircase. Miss Zara fell all 15 steps. I saw the whole thing with my own eyes. Madame Augusta paid me in 500,000 to stay quiet. But I can't stay quiet anymore. What she did was evil." The studio fell silent. Yemi turned to the camera. "We have also obtained hospital records from that night, showing the extent of Zara's injuries, which are consistent with being pushed rather than accidentally falling." More documents appeared on screen. X-rays, doctors' notes, everything. "We also have testimony from neighbors, domestic staff, and even Augusta's own relatives confirming years of abuse against Zara," Malik added. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable. Zara looked directly into the camera, her voice steady. "Augusta Nwosu Obi crippled me. She stole my inheritance. She threw me into the streets to die, and she did it all with a smile on her face. I want Nigeria to know who she really is. The interview went viral instantly. Within an hour, hashtag Justice for Zara was trending #1 on Nigerian Twitter. Within 3 hours, clips of the interview have been shared millions of times across Africa. At Augusta's house, the family was watching the TV in horror. Augusta's face had turned gray. Her hands trembled. This is lies. All lies. But Priska and Neka stared at their mother with dawning horror. "Mama," Priska whispered, "is it true? Did you push her?" "Of course not. They're trying to destroy me. That girl is lying." "But the security guard saw you," Neka said, her voice shaking. "He was there. He's lying too. They paid him to lie." "The hospital records, Mama." Priska stood up, her face pale. "The x-rays, the doctor's testimony. They said her injuries were consistent with being pushed, not falling. It's all fake, fabricated. Stop lying." Priska screamed, tears streaming down her face. "We watched you abuse her for years. We watched you force her to do all the work. We watched you mock her for being disabled. We knew something was wrong, but we didn't want to believe our own mother could be a monster. How dare you? You crippled her." Neka sobbed. "You destroyed that girl's life, and you let us believe it was her fault. You told us she was clumsy. You told us she was ungrateful. But you pushed her." Augusta's face twisted with rage. "I did it for us. For our family. She was taking everything." "She wasn't taking anything." Priska shouted. "It was her father, her inheritance. And you threw her out to die because you wanted it all. I gave you a good life. Everything you have is because of what I did. Then we don't want it." Neka turned away, crying. "I don't want anything from you." Priska looked at her mother with disgust and heartbreak. "You're not the woman I thought you were. You're a stranger, a criminal. Where are you going?" Augusta screamed as both daughters headed for stairs. "Away from you," Priska said coldly. "We're calling Uncle Chitty. We're going to stay with him. We want nothing to do with you. You can't leave me. I'm your mother." "No," Neka said from the stairs, her voice breaking. "A mother doesn't destroy innocent people. A mother doesn't push children downstairs. I don't know what you are, but you're not a mother." They went upstairs to pack. Augusta still alone in the living room, the television still playing, showing Zara's face, healthy, strong, alive, and realized with creeping horror that her world was about to collapse. By morning, Augusta's name was mud throughout Nigeria. Her phone rang constantly, journalists demanding interviews, old friends calling to condemn her, business partners cutting ties. Her church sent a message. "Your membership has been revoked. You are no longer welcome." Her social club expelled her. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her. And Malik's legal team, without filing a single criminal charge, began civil proceedings to reclaim every property Augusta had stolen from Zara's inheritance. Augusta had no defense. The evidence was public. Her reputation was destroyed. And her own daughters had abandoned her. She sat alone in the big house, the house she'd schemed and destroyed to keep, and realized she lost everything that actually mattered. The truth came out on national TV. The security guard confessed. Her own daughters turned against her and abandoned her. The stepmothers exposed the entire country. If you're celebrating this karma, smash that like button and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion. Comment, did the daughters do the right thing by leaving their mother? Next chapter is the final chapter where the stepmother loses everything and ends up exactly where she put Zara. You need to see how this ends. Turn on notifications. Share this story because everyone needs to see that evil never wins. Thank you for watching AfricanTales by Zion, where the truth always rises. 6 months after the television interview, Augusta's life had completely unraveled. Malik's legal team had moved swiftly and ruthlessly. They filed civil suits to recover every property, every bank account, every asset Augusta had stolen from Zara's inheritance. And because the evidence was so overwhelming and so public, no judge dared rule in Augusta's favor. One by one, everything was stripped away. The Lecky Mansion returned to Zara. The 3 properties in Victoria Island returned to Zara. Chief Obi's business shares returned to Zara. The cars, the jewelry, the bank accounts, all returned to their rightful owner. Augusta tried to hide some assets, but Malik's investigators found everything. They were thorough, relentless, and utterly unforgiving. You wanted everything, Malik told Augusta's lawyer during one meeting. Now she gets everything. Every single naira. Within 4 months, Augusta had nothing left. The court ordered her to vacate the Lecky Mansion. She had nowhere to go. Her daughters, Priska and Neka, had moved in with their uncle and refused all contact with their mother. Please, Augusta had begged over the phone. I'm your mother. You can't abandon me. You abandoned Zara, Priska said coldly. You threw her into the streets with nothing. Now you know how it feels. The line went dead. Augusta's friends had all disappeared. Her social circle wanted nothing to do with a woman exposed as a child abuser and thief. Even her own family members turned their backs on her. You brought shame to our name, her brother told her. Don't contact us again. With no money, no home, and no one to help her, Augusta did the unthinkable. She moved to Ajigunle, one of the poorest areas in Lagos, renting a single room in a crumbling building for N15,000 a month. The room was tiny, hot, with no running water and unreliable electricity. The ceiling leaked when it rained. Rats scurried across the floor at night. The neighbors were loud. The streets were dangerous, and everything smelled of garbage and open sewage. This was a slum, the place rich people never went, the place Augusta had once looked down upon with contempt. Now she lived here. To pay her rent and buy food, Augusta had to work. But what could she do? She had no skills, no education beyond secondary school, no references anyone would believe. She ended up doing laundry for her neighbors, washing clothes by hand for N500 per load, her back aching, her hands raw from detergent and hard scrubbing. The same hands that had once worn diamond rings now washed strangers' dirty underwear. The same woman who had hosted garden parties now hauled buckets of water from a public well. The same person who had thrown Zara out now begged her landlord for more time to pay rent. Life is funny, her landlord said, counting her money carefully. You used to be a rich woman. Now look at you. Augusta said nothing. What could she say? One afternoon, 6 months into her new life, Augusta sat by the roadside outside a market, holding out her hand to passers-by. She had finally fallen this far, begging. Her wrapper was faded and torn. Her hair, once professionally styled, was now gray and unkempt. Her face was lined with stress and hunger. She looked 20 years older than she was. Please, small money for food, she mumbled to people walking past. Most ignored her. Some dropped coins into her hand, without looking at her face. She was invisible, just another poor woman among millions. Then a sleek black Mercedes pulled up nearby. Augusta barely noticed. Rich people drove past every day. They never stopped for beggars. But this car stopped. The back door opened, and a young woman stepped out. Augusta glanced up, and her breath caught in her throat. Zara, but this wasn't the broken, crippled girl Augusta remembered. This was a woman transformed. Zara stood tall, wearing an elegant navy blue dress and heels. Her hair was professionally styled. Her skin glowed with health. She walked with the help of a beautifully carved wooden cane, no longer the broken crutches of before. And she moved with grace and confidence. She looked successful, happy, free, and she was looking directly at Augusta. Augusta's hands began to shake. She wanted to run, to hide, but her body was frozen in shame and fear. Zara walked over slowly and stood in front of her former stepmother. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Please, Augusta finally whispered, her voice hoarse. Just small money for food. Zara stared down at the woman who had pushed her down the stairs, stolen her inheritance, and thrown her into the streets to die. The woman who had called her useless, crippled, worthless. Now that woman sat in the dirt, begging. Zara reached into her purse and pulled out N1,000 note. She held it out. Augusta's trembling hand reached for it desperately. But before Augusta could take it, Zara pulled it back slightly. Look at me, Zara said quietly. Augusta lifted her eyes, tears streaming down her weathered face. Do you remember what you told me the night you threw me out? Zara asked, her voice calm but carrying years of pain. You said I was nothing. You said I was useless. You said I would die in the gutter. Augusta's lips trembled. I'm sorry. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm not giving you this money because you deserve it, Zara continued, placing the note in Augusta's hand. I'm giving it to you so that every time you spend it, every time you use it to buy food or pay rent, you'll remember something very important. What? Augusta whispered. Zara leaned down slightly, her eyes level with Augusta's. That the girl you tried to destroy is the one keeping you alive. That the cripple you threw away is the one showing you mercy. That God doesn't forget what you did, but he gave you the grace to survive it through the very person you tried to kill. Augusta broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. Zara straightened up. I could let you starve. I could let you be homeless. I could do to you exactly what you did to me. She paused. But I'm not you. I'm better than you. And I'll make sure you never forget that. She turned and walked back to the car, her cane tapping softly against the ground with each step. Augusta watched her go, clutching the N1000 note, her entire body shaking with sobs of shame, regret, and the crushing weight of karma. The Mercedes drove away, and Augusta was left sitting in the dirt, finally understanding what she had done. 1 year later, Zara stood at a podium in a beautiful new building in Lekki, smiling as cameras flashed. The sign behind her read, Chief Obi Memorial Center for Disabled Youth, founded by Zara Obi Adeyemi. Yes, Obi Adeyemi. She had married Malik 6 months earlier in a beautiful ceremony attended by hundreds. Their love story had captivated Nigeria. The billionaire who rescued a girl from the streets and saw not her disability, but her heart. My father always told me that my leg doesn't define me, Zara said into the microphone, her voice strong and clear. He was right. What defines us is not our circumstances, but our choices. This center will provide free medical care, education, job training, and support for young people with disabilities. Because every child deserves a chance. Every person has value, and no one should be thrown away. The crowd erupted in applause. In the front row sat Priska and Neka, now 19 and 17. They had reached out to Zara a year ago, crying and apologizing for their part in her suffering. Zara, after much thought and healing, had forgiven them. You were children following your mother's example, Zara had told them. But now you're old enough to choose who you want to be. Choose better. They had. Both girls now volunteered at Zara's center, working with disabled children, trying to atone for their past cruelty. As for Augusta, she still lived in Ajigunal, still washing clothes for survival. But once a month, an anonymous envelope would arrive with N10000 inside. No note, no name. Augusta knew who sent it. The girl she had tried to destroy was keeping her alive, and that was a heavier punishment than prison ever could be. Zara stood on the balcony of her home that evening, watching the sunset over Lagos. Malik came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? He asked gently. My father, Zara said softly. I wish you could see this. See how his inheritance is being used to help people. See that I'm happy. He sees, Malik said, kissing her temple, and he's proud of you. Zara leaned back against him, feeling safe, loved, and finally at peace. She had been pushed downstairs and crippled. She had been stolen from and betrayed. She had been thrown into the streets and left to die. But she had survived. She had risen. She had forgiven. And she had built something beautiful from the ashes of her pain. Augusta had tried to bury her, not knowing that broken people don't stay buried. They grow. They bloom. They become stronger than anyone ever imagined. And sometimes the people who try to destroy you end up begging at your feet, finally understanding the magnitude of their mistakes. Karma doesn't forget an address. And mercy is the sweetest revenge. The end. From the streets to a billionaire's wife. From broken and homeless to powerful and successful. And the stepmother? Begging on the streets, kept alive by the same girl she tried to kill. This is perfect karma. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. We have more incredible African stories coming your way. Comment below what part made you cry, what part made you cheer. What's the biggest lesson you learned from Zara's story? Share this complete story with your family, friends, everyone on social media. Someone needs to hear this today. Turn on post notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Remember, broken people don't stay broken. Mercy is stronger than revenge, and karma always finds its way home. Thank you for being part of the African Tales by Zion family. Until the next story, remember your circumstances don't define you. Your character does. See you soon.